the center of the universe.
Here's the welcome to Thrivetime with Dr. Z and Play Clock 2. They can tell you all of the rules. We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we hit. We started from the bottom, now we hit.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrivetime Show on your radio. And for anybody just tuning in for the first time on the Thrivetime Show, what we talk about is business school without the BS. And today what we're talking about essentially is discipline, this concept of being held accountable. And I find, Chup, that a lot of people don't want to be held accountable, but I have found that the most successful people actually seek out accountability.
Yeah, it's a way to get mentorship and get coaching and how to get better. And two, if you're already an A player, it's like a scoreboard, right? Like you can just kind of brag that you get your stuff done because the person that's holding you accountable is checking in on what you're doing.
So the entire show today, we're going to use the New England Patriots. As we get closer to football season, we're going to use the New England Patriots as an example. But recently in the media, a lot of former Patriots, every year it happens, but as you head kind of into the season, former Patriots become the whining winners. So they won all the time, and now they whine when they go to a new team. They whine about the culture. They whine. They say, the Bill Belichick method, while it works, really is something that I resent. Although it works, I really am not happy about it. I know that it works, and I know that it allowed me to have success, but I didn't like it. So, Chup, I'd like you to read this article excerpt from USA Today. This is an article called "What It's Like to Play for Bill Belichick."
It says, to be great on the field, you have to be emotional. To be great upstairs in the front office, you have to be robotic. Phil Savage, who worked under Belichick with the Cleveland Browns, told ESPN and the magazine in a story from October. The way he can separate his mind, the deep personal relationships he has to have with his players downstairs in the locker room, on the field, and in the game versus the business reality of looking at the same exact players from a strictly financial standpoint as commodities when he switches hats upstairs in the front office. That's not just incredibly hard. That's almost impossible. What it's like to play for Bill Belichick.
So think about this for a second. Bill Belichick is at a career winning percentage of 278 and 129. So 278 wins, 129 losses, a 68.3% winning percentage. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. Every year, the guy's going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to do well. And think about your team out there. Think about your team, Thrive Nation. Steve, do you have a football team you're into? Clay Stairs, do you have a football team that you follow year after year? Do you guys have a team you're into?
I follow the Patriots by way of Clay Clark because I didn't care before, and I do love their system, so yes. But I was always a kind of a sort of fan.
Yeah, I grew up being a Cowboys fan.
Okay, so Cowboys. Let's go with the Cowboys.
Oklahoma State.
Go there.
Oklahoma State.
Not
Go
Oklahoma
Pokes.
State.
Go
Not-
Pokes.
I wanna
Yeah,
go-
Clay Stairs, Pokes fan.
No.
I want to go with the Cowboys first, though.
Okay, Oklahoma
Jimmy
State.
Johnson. Do you remember when Jimmy Johnson was the coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes, I do. Remember, I put Barry Switzer.
Jimmy Johnson obsessed on creating a culture. He was very intense about the culture he created on the Cowboys. And he was known to be a tough coach, a disciplined coach. You think about the Spurs and Popovich. He was known as being a guy who was very disciplined, and he is a guy who's very disciplined. And they win every year. They're very consistent. Obviously, they had some key injuries this year, but every year they're pretty much a very competitive team. There are some teams, though, that don't win ever. They go decades. They go year after year after year because their culture of discipline is not there.
Right.
So I want to get into the business application of this. Jim Rohn, the New York Times bestselling author, once wrote, "Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment." So Clay Stairs, I want to start with you on this. You're a business coach, and you've worked with some really good clients over the years who have been people that have wanted to apply the system. And I think of no other example that's more top of mind for me with your clients than Gene Brees.
Yes, sir.
Now, Gene Brees, can you explain to the Thrive Nation who Gene Brees is and how you first met Gene Brees.
Sure. Yeah, I was in Phoenix, Arizona, doing a speaking engagement for a company there in Phoenix, and Gene was an employee there. And the content of the presentation was all about personal development, finding your passion, living in your passion. And she said the more that I talked during that presentation, the more she hated her job, the more she wanted to get out. Before I left the building, she said, Clay, get me out of this company. I want to be a speaker and a coach like you.
Holy cow!
Hey,
Harry Carey chiming in. Now, I want to make sure we're getting this. When Clay Stairs speaks at your company, typically his number one mission is not to take all of your employees and make them to be disgruntled people.
She was the only one.
Yes, he's
Right.
the only one ever.
But, Chup, I want to put this on the show notes to give Clay just a little bit of fairness here, a little pile on the Clay Stairs side here.
There we go.
1 point for Team Clay Stairs. According to Forbes, 70% of employees today hate their jobs.
Yeah.
70%. 70%.
Is that 7 out of 10?
Yes.
Very close.
And so when you talk about her not liking her job, that's actually a 7 out of 10 probability.
It's
And
actually
so
more likely that she would not like her job than that she would like it. Sounds like.
Yes. And so what happened is she actually came up to you and she said, could you help me? And what would you say? I can help you later. I can help you right now. What did that look like? Do you say I'll call you when I get back to Tulsa? What did that conversation look like?
We set up an appointment right there because I knew that when somebody is interested, you want to move on the interest immediately. And so we set up an appointment right there. I got in touch with her in the next 2 days, and we started that process. And we took about 6 months, 7 months to help her get out of her company, to get prepared to get out. Then it took us about 4 months to get her out. And then we started her company. And now, this was 2 years ago. And now she is speaking. She is traveling. She has traveled even internationally to be a speaker. She's charging around $5,000 to
She's
be a
making more money in a month than she used to make in like a quarter of the year, half the year.
Yeah.
I mean, she's doing really, really well.
Yes.
And she's just beginning to, in my mind, get her traction. Gene, if you're listening, I'd love to share this with Gene. But and Chuck, put this on the show notes so we can share it with Gene. But
Let's do
Gene
it. Yeah.
is a lady who is really a tenth of what she's going to be.
I agree.
She's
Does she
really
love it, though? Does she love it?
Oh, gosh, yes. Just
She's happy that she did what she did,
Very
yeah.
happy, yes.
And so what happens is that she is somebody who has this passion, this desire.
Yeah.
These football players who play for the Patriots, they all say, I want to win a championship. Everyone says, I want to win a championship. I just want to win a ring. I want to win a Super Bowl. Well, here's the deal. A little tip for all the other NFL players out there. You have to get to the playoffs in order to go to the Super Bowl. Right. And so Bill Belichick every year puts the goal of winning first.
No.
That's weird.
Yes. Oh.
So what he says
but
is,
people
hey,
have feelings, though, Clay.
if you're on the team and
I
you
don't
can no
feel
longer
safe.
perform at the level of expectation needed, if you can't perform at the level they need, he's going to have to cut you. Now, throughout his career, he's had to cut a lot of people that were fan favorites. I mean, he's had to cut Randy Moss,
I cut you, man.
Drew Bledsoe. He had to
Randy
cut-
Moss. How do you cut Randy Moss? Isn't that amazing?
I'll tell you how you cut him. You say, hey, Randy,
We're done here.
we're done.
Unsheath your
Yeah,
knife.
Dr. Z. This just didn't work out.
Randy,
So
I love you.
I just
You're
want to make
fired.
sure we're getting this idea, though. He's had to basically push people to be their best, and when they can no longer perform at that level, as we read from the article excerpt, he has to cut the players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would just ask you there, Steve, if you're in the game of business and you're in the mortgage industry, but for anybody out there who owns a business, if you get too emotionally attached to a specific teammate or player to a point where you're not willing to cut them, what happens? I mean, what if Jean got so caught up with the company culture that she couldn't move on to pursue her passion? So I just want to start with you there, Steve. What happens to the business owners out there that get so emotionally entangled with the employees that they can't let them go if they don't perform?
Yeah, it's bad news for everybody. And I had a boss years ago who was a terrible boss. But one thing he said to me that always stuck with me is that you have to amputate the emotion from business. You just have to. So you can, I think, like they said with Belichick, where on the field and in the locker room, he had an emotional connection with those players. But in the business office, when it came to the business of making a team win, he had to not be emotional about that, and he had to be about the numbers. And I think that's what you have to do as a business owner. You have to care about your employees, and I care about all our team members. But I don't care so much about them that I'm willing to sacrifice the company and everyone else in the company in order to make them happy.
Chup, what say you?
I would say that if you're too entangled with your team, even if it's a really, really good team, there's a little bit of a heavy thing I got to bring up.
Oh, heavy.
If you got a group of 10 people,
This just in.
if you got 10 people, guess what? Probably 2 of them are hiding the fact that they're bad people. And that's if you have like the best team ever. And so if you are way too entangled with you, they are going to take advantage of you, and you're not going to see it because you're too tied in. I don't really understand the saying you can't see the forest for the trees, but I think it's applicable in this situation.
Applicable.
Thank you.
I would give I would just give an example. Recently, in one of our businesses, the Elephant in the Room, the men's grooming lounge, we had somebody. I said recently. I'm old enough where everything's recently. Clay Stairs, you know what that happens? Like it's like the other day.
17 years ago.
You're like, well, it was 6 years ago, but that was
The other day.
anyway,
the other day.
It's like 2
The other
But I
day.
remember this. We had somebody who was a fan favorite. Everybody in the office thought this person was great. Everyone thought, man, this guy, he's the best.
Yeah.
And I looked at their membership percentage. Like, what percentage of the time do they sell a membership to people that come in the door? And the way the Elephant in the Room men's grooming lounge works, so all the listeners get that, I'm betting on our service as the owner.
Wow.
So your first haircut is $1. Clay Stairs, you've been there before.
Yes. Yes.
No, but what's the catch,
I'm a member.
It's $1.
No, what's
I'm
the
a member
catch, though?
since the very beginning.
You have been a member ever since I can remember.
Oh.
Can I ask you then, if you've been a member, what's the catch with the whole $1 haircut?
What's the catch?
Yeah, is there like, what's the catch? Come on, Clay.
The catch. Well, again,
We charge
it
you every
is
month
just-
thereafter.
Yes. Yeah.
Then we cut your hair again.
and then we cut your hair again.
I think the Elephant in the Room haircut is kind of like the Mercedes car driving experience.
I go every 2 weeks.
Really?
To get
Oh.
my hair.
He also drives a Mercedes, so
And
that's
I,
ooh, it
pretty good.
fits.
Your hair
It
does look
fits.
good.
Thank you.
I mean,
All I'm saying is that our experience is very high end. People love it. They talk about it all the time. But for me to talk about it and just say, "Oh, go to Elephant in the Room," check it out. It's great. People go, "Yeah, I don't know. I already go somewhere." I mean, no one's running around with like Yeti hair. No one's running around with like
I've
the
never
Billy Ray
gone either.
Cyrus hair saying,
on accident.
I have not cut my hair for the last 4 years because I could not find a hair provider. Are you the first one in Tulsa? Wow, this is huge. No, people are out there getting their hair cut right now. They already have somebody. And so we just throw out the offer. It's $1 for your first haircut.
It's a no-brainer.
There
And
it
the
is.
reason why we
Shut
throw
the
out for
front door.
$1 is that we believe the service is so good you'll want to sign up for a membership. But it's not going to be financially solvent if our team does not sell a membership to at least 50% of the people that come in.
Right.
Furthermore, if you're a great kicker and you play for Bill Belichick, you're a great guy. I mean, you're a great guy. You're maybe not good at kicking the ball. You're a kicker, and you just don't kick the ball well. I mean, you're a great guy, and you do a lot of things well in
Make a
life.
mean sandwich.
Well, you're probably a good husband.
I'm a leader on the
miss
team.
the ball a lot, and you're
No,
a kicker.
I'm being serious though. You're somebody's son. You're somebody's brother. You're married to somebody. Your kids come to the game. The kids have been to the locker room. The kids know all the players, and you're a good guy, but you can't make field goals. Bill Belichick will cut you, and most coaches won't cut you, which is why they lose all the time, which is why he insists on a culture of discipline. So we're going to talk more about whining winners who end up becoming lethargic losers after they leave the New England Patriots. But before we do that, I want to tell you about Hood CPAs.
Hood.
If you're looking for a pragmatic and practical proactive accountant, go to hoodcpas.com. That's hoodcpas.com to find your proactive accountant. Go to hoodcpas.com. Stay tuned.
Get ready to enter the Thrivetime Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of 5, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Started from the bottom,
Oh
now
yes, Thrive Nation, we once started from the bottom, and now we're here. Now it's debatable. Some of you might say, well, you started off morally at the bottom, and now you're talking about firing people that don't produce, so you're now also at the bottom. So you started from the bottom.
Now you're at the
bottom.
Now you're morally
started
at
from
the
the
bottom.
bottom. Now you're at the bottom. Started from the bottom. Now you're at the bottom. Started from the bottom. Now you're at the bottom. No,
I
That
love
song
that.
didn't
I
make
love
it
that.
so well.
You should have Colton Dixon sing that one.
Colton Dixon did sing that intro.
Yeah.
No. Started from the bottom. Now we're at the bottom. That one.
Started from the bottom. Now we're at the freaking bottom. Started from the bottom. Now we're at the bottom.
Yeah.
Now,
Too many
I'll-
syllables in there.
Can
Oh,
we
nice.
just do that for the rest of this segment?
I don't think we can do
Okay.
that, but
All right.
I'll talk to Chep about it later.
Maybe that's why I'm
after the
not
show.
listening to the
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about winning whiners. These whining winners. These people that whine all the time, but yet they win. We're talking about the former New England Patriots that as soon as they get off the team begin to complain about the team. So Chuck, can you read this next article excerpt there? We've got a couple in a row. I'd like for you to read we have quite a bit of reading here.
Here we
So
go.
we'll go ahead and get ourselves ready. We'll get a sandwich while you
Sandwich?
read. Go for it.
The veteran defensive lineman says that he once got called out by Bill Belichick for complimenting a fellow teammate.
Oh, good.
One time I did an interview and I gave a guy credit, Terrence Knight, and said, I thought I was doing the right thing by digging up my teammate and saying he was going to have a great year. Apparently, handing out compliments to fellow teammates is a no-no in Belichick's book. We got in a team meeting and Belichick called me out. Basically said to me, you're not an expert. You're not a D-line expert. We don't need you evaluating guys, Knighton said. Ironically, Knighton was using his story as a way to compliment Belichick and the Patriots. He says, there's a certain way they do things and it works, Knighton said. It's obvious by their success. Most of the guys that stick around there are all on the same page and they just have one way of doing things. They've been doing that since he's been there. Ex-Patriot player. Article titled, Bill Belichick once chewed me out for complimenting a teammate.
Steve.
I would like to say I feel, having been involved with Thrive going on like 3 years now, I feel this way about Thrive. I feel like there are people that aren't a part of that coaching program, that are in that group, that don't get it. And the ones that are there, it says it's obvious by their success. Most of the guys that stick around there are all on the same page and they just have one way of doing things, which I think is great.
Over and over.
Yeah,
and
you
over.
just do it over and over and over. And then some people don't get it.
Right. And they
And
complain
that's okay,
and they
yeah.
whine and yeah.
That's okay. They can
Well,
not
I'm
get
going
it
to
somewhere else.
give all the listeners out there some really terrible statistics, and we'll cite them all. But Clay Stairs, I expect for you to provide a good story that will pump us up because you
Here we go.
struggled once with separating the numbers. And Bill Belichick is great at holding the team accountable, but you're also a connector.
Yeah.
And so this is what Ben Horowitz said in his best-selling book,
Buckle
The Hard
up.
Thing About Hard Things, Building a Business Where There Are No Easy Answers. He's a guy who built a company that he sold to Hewlett-Packard for over $1 billion. But his book, honestly, if you read The Hard Thing About Hard Things, if you listen to it, it makes you at many times feel queasy because you're like, oh my gosh, this is a little bit too honest here.
actually
But
the
if you own a business, you go, yes, this is what I'm talking about. He says, every time I read a management or self-help book, I find myself saying, that's fine, but that really wasn't the hard thing about the situation. You see, the hard thing isn't setting a big, hairy, audacious goal. The hard thing is laying people off when you miss the goal. The hard thing isn't hiring great people. The hard thing is when those great people develop a sense of entitlement and start demanding unreasonable things. The hard thing isn't setting up an organizational chart. The hard thing is getting people to communicate within the organizational chart that you just designed. The hard thing isn't dreaming big. The hard thing is waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat when the dream turns into a nightmare. So Clay, you used to manage a camp there, Shepherd's Fold.
Yes.
And your job was to mentor kids
Yes.
and to also run a camp that was a nonprofit, but you couldn't operate at a deficit. You had to at least break even.
Right.
Talk to me about the challenge of that.
Well, as we were running the camp, the employees, quote-unquote employees that we had were the students that were in our discipleship training program. So I would spend probably 6 to 9 hours every single day being a personal mentor, life coach, spiritual father to 50 different college kids. But at the same time, I've got these kids that are my employees. I need them to love children, make sure that the kids have the stuff, make sure they get sunscreen on. We're in Oklahoma.
yeah,
Get
burn.
sunscreen on.
Right.
Do
And-
parents get upset
and these
when the
are-
kid comes home with sunburn?
They tend to. And so here we are. We've got 18 to 24-year-olds. and holding them accountable to do the work that they need to do. I really struggled with that. Steve was just talking a moment ago about amputating the emotion. I didn't know how to do that at that time.
Why did you struggle?
Why did I struggle? Because I was an emotional leader.
Well, you care about people too, Clay. I mean, I think people that meet you know that, and I think one of the hard things is separating the fact that I do care about people, but I'm not going to run my business into the ground based on the fact that I don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
I talk to my clients about this a lot, especially the connectors like you're talking about, and I tell them they can't give their care away too soon. That's what I tell a lot of people, because they hire somebody in, they do a good first week, and all of a sudden they're best friends, they're best
I'm
buddies.
going to tell you how I almost got divorced. This is good.
Oh,
There we go.
Oh,
that escalated quickly.
No, I want to tell you. So with the DJ company, we had 80 employees at one point, 80 disc jockeys.
were they all working out of your house at this point, or was it?
We had like 20 guys in the office out of the house.
Okay,
And like
got it.
60 that would DJ on the weekends.
That
And
might
they
have
would
been the
say,
divorce
and they
thing.
would, no, this is on like a Monday, they would say, hey, is there any way we could meet after work today? I've got some personal stuff I'm going through. And I would say, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they would send me like a thank you card going, dude, you changed my life. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. And they would go out there and do a great show. Well, then Tuesday, a guy says, hey, dude, I got a girl pregnant, and I don't know how to tell my wife because it's not my wife. Can we meet on Tuesday? No, this is a true story. Wednesday, a guy says, hey, here's the deal, man. I'm going through this. Could you help me? Thursday, a guy says, hey, financially, I need some help planning out my finances. Could you help me? And I could never say no to anybody except for my wife.
There it is.
And so every single night I was out mentoring these young guys. And when I received the Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2007, I remember my wife, she leans over and she says, hey, do you think you could schedule time after the awards to see your kids and me one time? And I'm like, well, I don't have a sound effect ready, but if I did have a sound effect, I'd probably hit the button. I thought about that. I thought about if I had another button I could hit, I'd probably hit the. And that was the sound of my rectum puckering.
Yes. Sphincter factor.
Whatever it was.
So
something
my
puckered.
stomach all of a sudden was like, and I felt horrible. But here I was in a limousine driving to get an award that I had worked hard to achieve, and I had achieved it the wrong way. I had achieved it through that emotional connection with everybody.
Yeah.
When we come back from the break, I want to talk about how you can achieve success without emotionally investing massive amounts of time and energy into every single member of your team. But, Chuck, one thing that I am emotional about and I have invested in is Onyx Imaging. If you want to save money and time off of your office supplies, you want to get your office supplies and your printer supplies delivered to your office so you can save time and money, go to Onyx Imaging. That's onyximaging.com. That's onyximaging.com. Stay tuned.
And now, broadcasting live from the box that rocks, it's the Thrivetime Business Coach Radio Show.
Time for higher learning and higher earning. Taking you to the top like we're hiking Mount Vernon. We're changing the mindsets like we're incense burning. Passing on the magic like our name was Irvin. Serving up that knowledge like I was a servant. And I cite what I say so you know I'm not a servant. The Thrivetime Show, bringing the heat while fervent. Giving it to you straight in a world that's swerving. Stacking the cash, making the dash. Earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts. Stacking the cash, making the dash. Earning the plaques, bringing it back. Bring me the track so I can get up on the mic and speak the facts.
Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrivetime Show on your radio. And today we're talking about this difficult topic for many people, not you, but other people. It's accountability. It's being accountable. It's doing what you said you're going to do and allowing somebody else to call you out when you're not doing what you said you're going to do. We're talking about whining winners. We're talking about why the Bill Belichick method works and why most people resent a culture of discipline. Think about this. The New England Patriots pretty much every year go to the playoffs. Since he's been coaching the Patriots, they've won 278 games, and they've lost 129. Even when Tom Brady was out last year, he's gone for 4 games, and they go 3 for 4 with random quarterbacks. The year that Tom Brady was out, Matt Castle led the team to the playoffs. I mean, they do well every single year. And it's because Bill Belichick is phenomenal as a manager. He's a very, very good manager. He's obsessed with football. There's a lot of things he does very, very well. But one of the things he does is he insists on a culture of discipline. And one of the things he does every week, and this is the part that I'm so excited about this. Every single week, he makes the team watch film together.
Oh, yeah.
And if you do not participate mentally, dude, it's gonna be brutal for you.
Yeah.
Be ugly.
So we have an excerpt we're gonna read here from an article that was in the USA Today. And Chup, I'd like you to read. It's kind of a long form read here. So
I got this.
So Chup, there's no time pressure. We're here. We're just here hanging out. So you just take as much time as you want to read this incredible
40,000
excerpt.
people listening. Go ahead, Chuck.
A New England's Patriots offensive lineman hands are knocked down by a defensive lineman. Rewind. Again. Rewind. Again. The offensive lineman's foot slips forward. Rewind. The foot slips forward. Rewind. Again. A returner bursts untouched through a group of Patriots players in punt coverage. He runs back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Bored, you just got cut. In film sessions, Bill Belichick and the rest of the New England Patriots coaching staff tend to lay off veterans they trust, according to Matt Chatham, a former Patriots linebacker and current NFL analyst on NESN. Instead, Belichick works to...
That's the New England Sports Network, for those of you who are not obsessed with the Patriots like I am.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. That's just it.
It's just in. Instead, Belichick works to whip newer and younger players into shape. There are exceptions. Even if it was someone that they trust, if it's something that was over the top or something they really have a low tolerance for, they'll yell at them too, Chatham said. They'll yell at Tom Brady. They'll yell at everyone at some point just to keep everyone honest.
Bill Belichick's whole deal is that games are won and lost based off of little details.
Absolutely.
And as a business coaching program, do we not meet every single day at 6 a.m.?
Yes.
And when we have our meetings, Chup, do we go over big, broad visions?
Yeah.
Do we go over big, broad concepts?
No, we go over specifics and how to get better and how to solve specific problems with actionable items.
So think about the last couple meetings we've had.
Yeah.
We've had clients that have wanted to know how to write a script that works.
Yep.
They've wanted to know how to migrate their GoDaddy account.
Yep. They need to know how to have tough conversations with people.
They've wanted to know how to build an org chart. And that's what we spend our entire meeting on, is coaching our coaches. Anytime the client has a question that coach says, you know what, I'm going to take that to tomorrow's meeting. I'll get the answer for you.
Right.
Because as a coach, they know a lot. They have to read the Start Here book, which, by the way, all the listeners can download for free right now at thrivetimeshow.com. It's the Amazon best-selling book. They can read the Start Here book. And I think of Clay Stairs, one of your coaches there, Clay.
Yeah.
Or Sean, one of your coaches.
Yeah.
Sean has read the Start Here book.
Yes.
He's read the Boom book, and he works with a lot of great clients.
Mm-hmm.
But every day, it seems to be, or every other day, there seems to be a question that he's never heard before, because every business owner is a little bit different.
Right.
And in our meetings, could you describe, because our meetings are kind of like the game film sessions of Belichick.
Exactly.
There's a little bit of comic relief, but as a general rule, what are we doing?
We are going over what are you coaching, and are you running the system? What questions do you have? What questions do your clients have?
And Belichick, when he watches video, it's not a broad idea of how can we become more motivated to be better players. He's talking, it's crazy, but if you ever get a chance to watch NFL films where they show footage of this, Belichick watches the same footage over and over, and he'll ask the players, he'll call on you, hey, 84, what do you see here? And if you're snoozing off, because they make it dark, he'll have you stand up in front of everybody, and he'll let you have it. And there's nobody who's immune to it. And this is the day after an NFL game, or the day after, it's like 2 days after, where their knees are swollen.
Right.
They've all been hit. If you play in the NFL, if you've ever met somebody who's played in the National Football League, Chup, after a game, these guys can't walk.
No, it's terrible.
And so we have our meetings every morning at 6, except for on Monday, they're at 7 now. But, why is that so important for your development, our clients' development? Why do we have to do that every day?
Oh, because like you just said, we coach hundreds of clients now, and there's always these nuances, these things, or the logistical issues of launching a new website, and we have to have that game film. We have to be tracking and growing together. And one thing that I think of whenever we talk about reviewing game film is how important it is to track your company, and how we work with our clients on tracking, because if you're not tracking, you don't know how the people in your organization are performing, and therefore you can't hold them accountable to anything. And so it's the same thing as if you've got salespeople that are slacking, but they've been around for 20 years. You need to let them have it, just like Belichick will let Tom Brady have it, because he needs to, or she needs to, perform up to those standards.
Steve Currington with Total Winning Concepts, he does a great job of tracking with his team there. Steve, can you talk about some of the metrics that you track in your sales training meetings, the weekly meetings that I'm in with you guys? Because you do a really good job of tracking those metrics.
Yeah, we track everything from, for our call center, the number of calls you made, the number of appointments that you set or live transfers, the number of what we call super apps, the number of training calls that you listen to, the number of Google reviews that you obtain for the company from real customers. And we even have it down to metric to we know how many phone calls each rep has to make before they get a deal.
Why?
It's accountability because
have you ever had to fire somebody as a result of not being able to hit the numbers that you needed?
Yeah, I fired someone that lives in my house like a week ago. So, you know,
Steve
You need to
did
quit letting employees live with you, by the way.
Steve did fire a member of his family the other day, and I will just say this: if you're out there listening, firing a member of your family could be a lot like firing a friend, firing someone you're close to. It doesn't feel good. But the metrics needed in order for your company to succeed were not being hit, and so you had to make that call.
Yeah.
Chubb, if you go to Dr. Sibley's office, Dr. Sibley Chiropractic,
Right.
one of our fine show sponsors, the former chiropractor of choice of Wayne Gretzky, why do they do x-rays from time to time?
Because they need to know what's going on.
So you're saying they do x-rays from time to time because they want to know what's going on?
Right. You got to see behind the scenes.
Why don't they just go based off of how they feel, how you feel?
Well, because you are not an expert.
Oh,
and he
so
is.
if you want to improve any area, and I'll tell you what, you will measure what you treasure.
Oh, boy.
And so if you're out there and you say, you know what, I'm struggling with some allergies, I've got chronic back pain, and I want to get better. I'm tired of dealing with these issues over and over. If you're looking for same-day appointments, short to no wait times, call our good friend and show sponsor, Dr. John Sibley.com. That's drjohnsibley.com. Chubb, what's his phone number and how can we get to his office?
You can get over there. He's at 51st and Harvard here in Tulsa. The phone number is 918-749-5741. That's 918-749-5741. drjohnsibley.com.
It blows my mind. drjohnsibley.com. Stay tuned.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrivetime Show.
Thrivetime Show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas. All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And today we're talking about is accountability. We're talking about whining winners. Why Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots head coach, Bill Belichick, why his method works and why most people resent a culture of discipline. Now, in just a moment, Clay Stairs, who used to run a nonprofit called Shepherd's Fold. It's a Christian camp that's renowned within the area. People love that camp. He's going to share kind of his struggle with holding people accountable. But before he does that, I'm going to share with you why I've never had a problem with holding people accountable. When I was a kid, I got mocked because I stuttered all of the time. Couldn't talk. My son just went to a camp, and at the camp, everybody made fun of my son. I just found out this. He just told me he literally had the worst experience of his life. He could not stop crying because every single kid made fun of him because he has nystagmus, which means that your eyes don't have a steady point, so his eyes will move. So they started calling him cross eyes, and they just mocked him. Well, I can say his good friend Jaden Barnett, who is my partner's son, saw it happening and just laid the smack down on some kids. But I'm saying my son went to camp, and it was the single worst experience of his life, and we've just now kind of talked through it.
And this wasn't Shepherd's Fold, though.
Right. But he went to a camp, and not to Shepherd's Fold, went to a camp, and my son, just like me, was easy to make fun of, easy target because his eyes move. I had a speech impediment, so I had a hard time speaking. So for me, I realized real quick. I remember almost like a turtle. I would go inside. I would kind of think mentally like I would go somewhere mentally when I was somewhere else physically. So I would just go somewhere mentally like, okay, I'm not here, and then I would just go there.
You block it out.
Block it out. And so as an adult, I think almost my entire day I block it out. Like I just don't even think about I'm somewhere else mentally most of the time if I'm in an uncomfortable situation. And so whenever I have to like fire somebody or hold somebody accountable, I really don't even begin to think at all from their perspective. I think about like, you knew what to do, you didn't do it, it's black and white, so here's the deal. But I think most people who weren't abused or made fun of, or somebody who grew up, I would say either popular or well-liked or just normal, wasn't mocked repeatedly, you probably have more empathy by nature. And Clay Stairs, from my understanding, is you're one of the most popular guys in high school. You did well in high school sports.
Cutie pie.
You're well-liked.
Is this true?
No, seriously, you're well liked and known, and people knew who you were. Am I correct?
I paid a lot of people a lot of money through high school. Yes.
Being serious though, were you not likable during high school?
I was.
Where for me, like middle school was like a challenge.
Class
So,
president.
Yeah, I get it.
so all I'm saying is, you guys were the guys that everyone wanted to say, "What's up, dude? Hey, what's going on, Clay?
Yeah.
How you doing?" And so now that you found yourself running Shepherd's Fold Camp, you had to hold people accountable. And I want to hear from your perspective. What kind of inner dialogue or what kind of emotions were you dealing with when you had to hold people accountable?
Yeah, well, again, I personally was not a very disciplined person. And so I was a very emotional person. My actions, my decisions were, I would say, were primarily emotional actions and decisions. And I did not want anyone to hold me accountable. Clay, I was 47 years old when I came to you to be my coach. You were the first person in my life that I said, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. Up until that point, I was going to do it on my own.
And if somebody's out there, you're listening, and you've been managing people for a long time, and you're not doing it effectively, you can't seem to hold people accountable. They can't seem to get the job done. They always say, I did my best. They can never seem to deliver the results. Earlier, we interviewed Dr. Brown, and this is what he had to say about that.
Do you know what this means? It means that this thing doesn't work at all.
Yes. So what happens is that if you are trying to manage emotional people from an emotional perspective, it doesn't work. So, Clay, what would happen when you would try to manage people from an emotional perspective?
Well, it seemed like I was always the one that was feeling the greater emotion, the greater stress, the greater pressure. And I would then I would be thinking of all the emotions that they could be feeling. And I didn't want them to feel those emotions, so I would feel them for them. And that would keep me. I mean, what's up?
Did you ever?
I need medication.
Life is a carousel.
But what that did was that caused me to not hold people accountable because I didn't want to be held accountable. And so it was just very hard for me to do that. Not because there was some moral thing. I can't ask them to do it if I'm not going to do it. It had nothing to do with that. It was just I didn't know how emotionally to hold people accountable because I was not a person that was disciplined.
Did you ever see the movie Airplane, guys? Did you ever see the movie Airplane? One of the scenes in Airplane,
all the 2.5.
There's a guy in the movie
who's
his role was to always deal with the emotional situation. Like whenever a bad thing would happen, his job was to hop on the mic because the movie's about an airplane that is trying not to crash. They're in bad weather. There's people on the plane that are sick. All these calamities are happening. And he's trying to coach the pilot. He's trying to coach the plane, this commercial airliner, to success, to a landing without a crash. And he emotionally processes everything. And any time that he has any type of adversity at all, he immediately turns to some vice. And so here are some audio excerpts from the movie Airplane. Here we go.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit drinking. Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit amphetamines.
And throughout the movie, he just keeps saying, looks like I picked the wrong week to quit huffing glue. Looks like because every time there's something bad happens, he processes it emotionally.
Yeah.
And Chup, I mean, that'll destroy you.
It will. And when you're processing everything in the emotional realm, what you're really doing is you're being reactive. And you're just reacting to everything that's going on and everybody else. But when you are operating in a strategic realm, you're being proactive. And that's the difference. The discipline to sit down, make a plan, be strategic, and be proactive with it.
Steve Currington, what say you?
I was going to ask, you say you were 47?
Yes.
And then now you're not that way.
Now I'm not that way.
So I won't, talk about how old he is now, but I'm guessing he's older than 47.
He's 45.
And I think
53.
I think what's important to for people to understand is there's a lot of people that have these I call them like a universal truth of, it's just how I am.
Yeah, that's just
how
me.
I was born. Like
It's just how I am.
It's how I am. Well, it's actually not.
Yeah.
And it is a choice. And then I believe that once you are taught or you learn the way that it should be handled, if you don't do that and don't become that person that you know you are supposed to be, then you have been taught and now you're ignoring it, and that's on you. And so there's a lot of people that say, well, I can't change this how I am. No, you can, because Clay Stairs did it, and I'm sure there's lots of examples of people that have done it
I've watched Bill Belichick as a coach. Just so you know, Bill Belichick was not good in high school or in college. His dad was a college football coach. And so he was always made fun of because he was always too small, undersized, wasn't that good. And so I think that he was talked to like, hey, get off the field. Coaches would say, hey, get off the field. Hey, who's the runt out here? Get off the field. So he was used to that. So for him, like, he was treated
It was normal.
with little or no respect at all as a player. And he just sort of is very transactional. He's not intentionally mean, but very transactional about the way he runs the team. But over time, I've watched him for years. I'm just telling you, I've watched the guy. I'm 37. I've been watching Bill Belichick coach that team for 18, 19 years. Watch him every year. And I can tell you, he's become more emotional. He's learned to say words of affirmation, positive things.
Touch everybody.
He
right?
won't go into negative emotion. Yeah, actually, after every game, they bring it in after the game, and he has a guy by the name of Matthew Slater,
Right.
who brings it in. He's almost like the team's religious leader, their team's
Chaplain.
yeah, he's like the team's spirit there.
Yeah.
And he brings that energy. He makes sure that all the coaches say a kind word to all the players. He makes sure they all physically touch the players when they come into the locker room. And he's developed that over time. And yeah, he could say that I'm a non-emotional person, but he realized he's managing people that are emotional. And they're not going to go out there and play football. It's like doing war. And so if you watch NFL films, Bill Belichick, you can see how he's learned to connect with players on a more emotional level. And one thing, Chuck, I'm pretty emotional about. Anytime somebody sponsors our show, they decide to put their money where our mouth is.
Right there.
I am absolutely white hot, passionate about our show sponsors. And so if you're out there and you have thought about ever expanding your commercial building, you thought about expanding your church, you thought about building a building, you've thought about building some commercial real estate, there is no need for a debate. You got to go with our guys that are great. Go with Williams Contracting. Chuck, what's their website and what is their phone number?
You can get a hold of these guys at 918-682-5511. 918-682-5511, or check them out at will-con.com. That's will, WILL-con.com.
Save your soul. Go to will-con.com.
You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrivetime Show.
Can I kick it? Yes, you can. 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 This is Clay Clark on the mic again. Myopic focus, tunnel vision. I'm focused on the mission to teach you the skills and give you the plans. Broadcasting from my lands to the left, to the Portlands. I'm here to tell you you can do it. Yes, you can. And now, my friend, you got two fans. He be the Z, comma, and I'll be the C, yes, and now let's kick it like Batman, bam, and get a little nuts like pecans.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the conversation. It is the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And if you're just now tuning in, we're talking today about accountability. We're talking about why is it that players from the New England Patriots become whining winners after they leave the team, when they say, I'm on the team, yes, Super Bowl, woo! Why are people so excited when they're on the team? They're winning all the time, but when they leave, they become whining winners. And why the Bill Belichick method works, and why do most people resent the culture of discipline after they leave? So, Chuck, can you read the next notable quotable about practicing? Bill Belichick he says this over and over. If you ever listen to Bill Belichick interviews, he's been on the record saying this anytime he does an interview, whether it be video or just a podcast. He talks about practice should be harder than the actual games. Chuck, read the notable quotable here from this excerpt from the CBS Sports article.
It says, after former Patriots and current Giants left tackle Nate Solder described playing for the Patriots as cold and very businesslike on Thursday, Amendola called Belichick an a-hole
What?
sometimes and said that playing for him is, quote, not easy on Friday. But Amendola, like Solder, intended for both of those things to be taken as compliments.
Real quick,
in a certain
both
way.
Nate Solder, and Danny Amendola described their former coach as cold and businesslike and an a-hole, but they meant it,
as a
quote-unquote,
compliment.
to be compliments.
Right.
Continue, Chup.
He says, because at the end of the day, he knows that Belichick's tough approach gets results, as in Super Bowls. He says, it's not easy, that's for sure. He's an a-hole sometimes. There were a lot of things I didn't like about playing for him, but I must say the things I didn't like were all in regards to getting the team better, and I respected him. Amendola told ESPN's Mike Reese. He says, I didn't like practicing in the snow. I didn't like practicing in the rain. But that was going to make us a better football team, and that was going to make me a better football player. It wasn't easy, and he'd be the first to admit at the Super Bowl ring ceremony that it wasn't easy playing for him. The silver lining was that we were at the ring ceremony.
So Bill Belichick, if it is snowing outside, I want to make sure we get this. They have an indoor practice facility. If it snows
Outside!
he makes them practice outside.
Here we
It's awesome.
If it rains, he moves them outside. They're practicing in Foxborough, outside of Boston, where it is crazy cold.
Crazy cold.
And Bill Belichick has said he wants to make the playing conditions worse than they could possibly be in the in the game, so that way the practice is harder than a game.
High
so
watermark.
So the game is easier. Right. Now, Clay Stairs has a fun story where he had somebody that he knows very close to him who came to work for one of my companies. And can you share this story? Because this is a real example of, let's call it Clay Clarkachek.
Whoa.
And what it's like to work with me. Okay, so.
Yeah, it was my daughter, Maddie.
Oh, wow.
And
Hi, Maddie.
Exactly. Hi, Maddie. And this was probably the time when I realized that I had made a switch. I'd crossed that bridge of discipline to a place where I now embrace discipline. Maddie came to me one day, Clay, after being in a meeting. I think it was early on after she had started working with you at the photography company.
Right.
And she came to me in tears after work, and she was so mad at you because she said, Dad, Clay pulled me to the side after the meeting, and he just ripped me a new one because I yawned in the meeting.
Now, I want to make sure that all the listeners get this, because I don't remember what I said to her. I just know what I say in ongoing. When somebody yawns in a meeting, and it's like they're not trying to fight it back,
Yeah.
I pull them aside, and I say something to the effect of, hey, here's the deal. The most disrespectful thing that you could do to whoever's speaking, whether it's me or somebody else, is to not get enough sleep previous to hearing their presentation, their talk, they're leading the meeting, whatever. So I don't have an issue with the act of yawning as much as I have an issue with not getting enough sleep ahead of time. So if you yawn again in a meeting, I will fire you.
Yeah, that's what she heard.
And so that's what, and I say that, have said that a lot, and I'll just tell you that imagine you're meeting with the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Let's say you're meeting with President Obama back in the day, and you were a member of a team that won a championship, and President Obama comes up to you and he says, pleasure to meet you. How you doing? Welcome to the White House. And you immediately go, I just gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry.
What's up, Barry?
What it shows is that there was lack of preparation for that meeting.
Yeah.
And in business, Steve, you've been in a meeting before. I'm sure we were training your team.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had somebody that kind of slouches over and is yawning. What does that say to you without a word being said?
A 4-letter word that starts with F and ends with K. Maybe like sound.
Fork?
No, not fork. Something close to that. It's like they're literally like saying to you,
funk.
You.
Funk you. Funk.
Yeah, funk you.
With an N.
Wow.
Funk you.
Yeah.
Funk.
No,
Nice.
seriously, but that's what it is. It's like, hey, thanks for, I don't care what you're talking
I
about.
That's what it
process
is.
people yawning in a meeting. This is how I see it, and it's probably a little harsh. But I had a professor when I went to Oral Roberts University. And bless this man who's no longer with the living. But he used to point there, Clay Stairs. And you have a pointer for him. When you point like this.
Oh, yeah.
And he used to point, and we had a big class, a lot of people, probably a couple hundred people. And he used to say, I want to tell everybody, if you look at the chart over here.
Yeah, that was my dad downstairs.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he would
He'd
point
use the middle finger
with
to
the
point.
middle finger.
Yeah,
Really?
he's
Didn't
like,
realize he was doing
so
it,
here's the
though?
deal. He's
Oh,
like,
no.
That's
I
a
want,
thing?
I want everyone to know that over here, if you look over here in the Old Testament on this chart, God wants us to all. And so if you were
it's grade school immediately.
and everyone in the back, we got 18, 19-year-old kids, and we're all like freshmen and sophomore, and there's like 300 of us, and we're like,
Yeah, can't believe it.
I'm that way today, and I'm 39.
There it
so
is.
I
so
can't
then,
imagine I was
if you
18 or
were sitting up
19.
higher than him in Howard Auditorium, people would say, Hey, real quick, I didn't hear what you were saying. Could you explain to me again? Because
Go
you knew he
over
would
it
point
again.
at
He
you. He
would
goes,
point again.
well, that's a great question. Now, what you're going to want to do, and he would point with his middle finger.
Oh,
and so it
gosh.
became this really weird atmosphere because it was like you couldn't focus on what he was saying.
And you're at a
because he
Christian
kept
college.
pointing with a middle finger at everything.
Yeah.
Yawning, again, it distracts from who you are, what you're about. It makes the person think you don't care. Another one, this is probably my favorite story, and this is old enough I can share it. There was a lady who was a female client, and she tucked her shirt in after going to the restroom. And she pulled up her underwear way up over, so her underwear is coming out where everybody in the building could see the red underwear, just pulled up high though, like way over it. And then so you couldn't talk to her because you noticed that her underwear is pulled up over her shirt. Awkward. And everybody, is like, it's hard to what do you say? And you're a man, and she's like the only female, and it's like, you want to? Do you say? Do you go in like, hey, there's your underwear, which I believe to be thongish, is up over.
Now outerwear.
It's outerwear, and you don't, and it makes it where it's
now
hard to pay attention. And so, I think
They're beautiful, by the way. Those panties.
Don't say that.
no, but I think
Do not say that.
But I think a lot of people though don't realize what your body language is saying. I don't really think. And Clay Stairs, you work with a lot of business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't realize that when you show up late to your own meeting by 20 minutes with nothing prepared, what does it say to your team when you have no notes, no preparation, you're bringing low energy, and you look slightly hungover?
Again, I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't respect you. And then if you're not careful, you come in and you expect them to respect you. You expect them to do what you ask them to do. But you just lost all credibility. Again, I remember when Maddie came and told me that you had gotten onto her because, she wanted to go, Clay just gets
And I remember her friend, I won't mention her friend's name, her friend was outraged.
Oh, yeah.
Outraged.
Yeah. And it was all about the yawn. It was all about, I guess I can't be tired. I guess you just can't be tired.
How old was she at this point? Like
she was probably 23.
Oh,
probably
get
22,
over it.
Probably 22, 23.
Come on.
But the thing was, Clay, is that I think that it was one time that I truly do remember that I had crossed the bridge of discipline because my response to her was, "Did you yawn?" And she goes, "Yes." And I said, "He should have ripped you a new one. I guess you won't ever yawn again, will you?"
Right.
Dad, you Clays are all the same.
She did not find a safe haven there. Did
No.
she? She was
Clay,
expecting you to
Dad,
go.
I don't feel like you're a safe place.
I will talk to him.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
No, it
Now,
ain't gonna happen.
Another
high-five him.
another Bill Belichick lesson that we could learn from the whining winners who've now departed from the Patriots to move on to other things. Eric Chubb, can you read this next article excerpt from CBS Sports?
It says nobody should be making their shocked face. After all, this is a coach who once celebrated a championship by leading a no days off chant at a Super Bowl parade.
Real quick, after the Patriots won the Super Bowl, they get past the mic to him. This is all of Boston. There is
Huge.
I'm not exaggerating. There's at least 200,000-300,000 people that are out there celebrating his victory.
Did you say Boston or Boston?
I swear, we win Boston. Bill Belichick.
Boston.
So they're in Boston, and Bill Belichick has passed the microphone at a celebration where they're supposed to celebrate the team's victories. And all the players, are on there. They've had a parade all day.
Smiling, waving.
The entire city was given the day off.
I would like to say if you haven't watched this video, you should go find it and watch it.
It's the best. And so why don't we, Chip, during the break, I'll download the audio and I'll cue it up there
Okay,
for the
that's
next segment.
good. Yeah.
But Bill Belichick starts a chant, and he begins to say, "No days off." Now, remember, the entire New England community has a day off given to them by the mayor in order to celebrate their win. He's like, "No days off." And all the players are reluctant. "No days off."
Start.
No, and because that's what he thinks wins championships, and that's what does win championships. And so Reggie Wayne played for the Indianapolis Colts, and Reggie Wayne thought, "Hey, look, I'm going to go play my last year for the Patriots and go win a Super Bowl. I did good, and I would like to win."
I'm going to go over there and win a Super Bowl.
So, Chubb, read the rest of the excerpt here.
It says, future Hall of Fame receiver Reggie Wayne once tried to finish his career by chasing a ring with the Patriots. He ended up quitting before the season even began.
Oh, my.
Reportedly because it was too tough and not fun.
Not fun. And there it is.
There it is.
Not
The preparation required for winning is something that most people cannot handle. Now, Chubb, let me tell you about somebody who can handle preparing for winning.
Oh,
Here it is.
Somebody this is a client I've worked with for a long time. Full disclosure, he's a partner of mine. So if you visit his business, I do make money. And I appreciate you so much.
thank you.
But RC Auto Specialists, these guys have been, for over 80 years of combined experience, these guys have been basically taking care of all of Tulsa's Ford
80?
Power Stroke 80. They've been helping out Tulsa with all their Ford Power Stroke diesel service and repair issues. So if you have a Ford diesel, you need suspension and alignment work, heat and air, transmission, lighting, fleet service, battery issues. Chubb, what's their website?
rcautospecialist.com, or you can call them at 918-872-8115, 918-872-8115, rcautospecialist.com.
Oh, Chubb, you're giving me one more chance to say it. It's rcautospecialist.com. Stay tuned.
3, 2, 1, boom! You are now entering the dojo of Mojo and the Thrivetime Show.
Thrivetime show on the microphone. What is this? Top of the iTunes charts in the category of business. Drilling down on business topics like we are a dentist. Providing you with mentorship like you are an apprentice. And we go so fast that you might get motion sickness. Grab a pen and pad to the lab. Let's get in this. It's time to bear some fruit like some Florida oranges. 3, 2, 1. Here come the business ninjas.
Sonic boom!
Welcome, Thrive Nation. Welcome back to the Thrive Time Show on your radio. And I think anybody listening to today's show, unless you're a communist, which I don't know that we have a whole lot of communists that are tuning into the show, but unless you're a communist, I think you have a desire to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody out there saying, I don't want success. I don't want success. Success I don't want. I don't want Mother Russia. I don't want to
Mother Russia.
Mother Russia. I don't want success. No, you want, everybody wants to have success. Everybody says, I want to win a championship. I want to be the top. I want to be the man. I want to be the woman. I want to be the boss. I want to be the pastor. I want to be the leader. I deserve to be the manager. I didn't sign up to be entry level. I want to be in charge. But what happens is there's a massive gap between what you want to do and what you do. There's a big gap between the managers and everybody else, the leaders and everybody else. I would call this entire mindset the leader shift.
Ooh.
It is it's when you begin to shift your entire mindset. You begin to shift your action items because you begin to shift the entire way you approach situations to own the situation. You begin to say, if I am a leader, this is how a leader would handle this situation. And one of the things that winners do is winners do not make excuses.
They win.
However, a lot of times winners who play for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, they win all the time. They win. But when they leave the team, they become whining winners. And they begin to drift into lazy, lethargic losers. But while they're on the Patriots, they can't whine. Bill Belichick prevents them from talking to the media. They can't speak about it. But when they leave, they all say, it was just terrible. Oh, it was terrible.
It was so terrible.
But the Bill Belichick method works, and that's why most people resent the culture, because it works, and it frustrates people to know that you have to work that hard to win. So Eric Chupp, renowned business coach, I'd like for you to read a very, very lengthy excerpt from ESPN about Bill Belichick and what some of the players have to say about him.
says, before a significant snowstorm started to hit New England on Thursday, Patriots coach Bill Belichick told players that it will be business as usual as the team is scheduled to hold its second and final practice of the playoff bye week. Quote, you certainly better leave yourself enough time to get here on time tomorrow. We all know there is weather. Coach has mentioned that several times to the team. So I wouldn't want to be the guy who is late tomorrow, Special Teams Captain Matthew Slater said on Wednesday. It appeared that Belichick was going to make the players practice outside in driving snow and high winds, but Thursday morning he relented and decided to hold practice inside the Empower Field House. The Patriots are scheduled to practice at 10:35 a.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, which is a couple hours earlier than the norm. Belichick was asked Thursday morning if showing up in blizzard-like conditions was a lesson in accountability for his players. He responded, quote, every day is a work day, he responded flatly. Belichick's philosophy on practicing in the snow and players being on time for the first meeting of the day has been well documented over the years. In 2009, he sent 4 players home when they didn't make it to the facility on time. Safety Devin McCourtney, another team captain, said Wednesday that he remembered hearing that news while watching SportsCenter. He relayed that Belichick was already addressed the players about being on time. Quote, he mentioned that he doesn't care. Don't call and say your car got stuck. I think everyone knows there are 2 hotels up here at Patriot Place, so stay there for the night. Find a way, McCourtney said.
I want to make sure that all of the people out there listening get this idea. Devin McCourty, his brother Jason McCourty, they're twins, okay? I'll put up on the big screen. There they are. They're going to be on the Patriots this year together.
They look the same.
They do.
Well, this year,
very similar.
They will be on the team together for the first time.
They look similar.
They're actually identical twins.
Oh.
And so, but I would say that Bill Belichick has such a strong culture that his brother, who is used to winning, made a point. He just said here, hey, listen, there are hotels at Patriot Place you can stay at. So don't use weather as an excuse. And he loves the culture of winning so much, he recruited his twin brother. Now, I don't think a lot of people understand this idea, but the feeling you get when you win all the time is awesome. Now, his brother played for a different team. Let me pull him up here. The Cleveland Browns.
Whoa.
Oh, they're good.
And they lose all the time. And so losers make excuses for everything. And because most people lose all the time, they make excuses too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give all the listeners, I'm going to give you some specific excuses that nobody cares about that might sound harsh. So my wife, we have 5 kids. However, we had a miscarriage late term, so we would have had 6. And when our baby had to be removed from my wife's body because it was dead, I went to work the next day. And none of my customers, of which we had 4,000 weddings a year, none of them would have cared at all about my wife if I would have missed their wedding because it's someone's wedding.
Yep.
My best friend Mark died in a car accident right before I was scheduled to DJ a big wedding. And you know what I did? I spoke at his funeral and then did the wedding. You know why? Because I was I didn't want to, but I had to. The day I found out that my son was born blind, I was DJing a wedding. When my dad was diagnosed with ALS, I had to do my job. When my dad got diagnosed with cancer, I had to do my job. When my equipment got stolen, when I ran DJ Connection, I had to do my job. When the ceiling collapsed at Elephant in the Room on the 23rd, Steve, you were here on the eve of Christmas Eve. Oh, yeah. When the ceiling collapsed. Chuck, you were here too?
We were there.
We had to do our jobs, right? Yep. I mean, it's what you do. It's the eve of Christmas Eve.
We couldn't let the shop close because of this. We made it happen.
I don't want to curse at everybody. It's not probably a positive way to communicate. So I just say this. Nobody gives a crap about what you're going through at all. Nobody cares.
Yep.
So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to deliver results. And Clay Stairs, how is that 100% different from how everybody else thinks? All the people who are not winning, how do they think about it?
Oh, they think it's all emotional. They think, I've got something hard. I mean, it can go to something so simple as, I just didn't feel right about coming to work today. It can be something so simple.
I didn't feel right about it.
Because it's emotional. It's
Steve,
emotional.
I didn't
but
feel
again,
right about
what is it? Napoleon Hill says 98% of the population is drifting just in this emotion land.
That's true. We talked about it today with our team, Clay, and we have an event that we've been graciously invited to be a part of. That,
yes.
That is it's a lot of work on all of our team.
The
and
parade
it's
of
gonna-
homes.
Yeah, and it's a requirement of about 6 hours a day on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And so I had this conversation with a couple of my right hand people, my top managers that we have.
Yeah, this is a win.
I said, listen, I don't actually care like what you do during the weekend or what you have to do or what you're missing out on. And I'm not trying to be like rude or unemotional about it. I'm just trying to win, and we're going to win by doing this.
And one way we win one way that we win at the Thrivetime shows, we transcribe each and every single radio show, which is why we continue to come up higher and higher in the Google search engine results. And the company that we use to transcribe each and every show is endquote.net. Endquote.net. I like the transcription company so much, I invested in it. It's endquote.net. Stay tuned.
No negative emotion, cause that's what business is. Always dominate, cause I got 5 kids. I will not lose, I don't break but bruise. They can talk about me, I can take that abuse. But here is the truth, while they make that excuse. I'll be up grinding, cause the scoreboard's the truth. He is my mentor, like my Yoda dude. He showed me the force like I was a young Luke.
All right, Thrive Nation, welcome back to the Thrivetime Show on your radio. Today we're talking about this concept of personal accountability, holding yourself accountable, and pushing yourself to be your best, not making excuses. And yes, we're using the New England Patriots as an example because so many people, when they play for the Patriots, they win every year. I mean, Bill Belichick's winning percentage is ridiculous. As a head coach, this guy wins. He's won 278 games and only lost 129 games. And all these players will go play for the Patriots, and they're going to win. They're going to put up massive numbers. They're going to be successful. A lot of them will go to the Pro Bowl because of the discipline. They've never been held accountable to that level. And think about your favorite sports coach as a team, or as a kid. Think about your favorite coach. Think about the coach that helped you win the most. Think about the coach that you played for that improved your skills the most. Think about the teacher that helped you become the best you could be. I don't know about you, but every teacher that I could think of that really pushed me, I think of Mrs. Jansen. This lady absolutely wore me out. I would get up there and do a public speech. I'm like 15, 16. I had just gotten to a place in my life where I no longer stuttered, and I get up to speak, and she says, after the class, not in front of everybody, but she pulls me aside, Mr. Clark, your talk today was about half as good as what I think you could do. Probably a third. Yeah. So I'm going to have you do it again tomorrow. And I'm like, but everybody else has already done. She said, I'm not talking about everybody else.
Oh, there
talking
it is.
about you, and I see what you can do. I see what you can be, and I see what you're doing now. Mr. Beckerman. I remember Mr. Beckerman, Paul Beckerman. He used to say, that was good, but I'm aiming for great here. So we're going to do that again tomorrow. And they wouldn't let you take days off. These people would push you to the next level. And Clay Stairs, you were a teacher.
Yes.
Can you talk about how today as a business coach you push your clients to be the best they can be, and how sometimes it's a weird deal because they're paying you and they're paying you for that accountability. But yet, as we've seen with the New England Patriots, a lot of times people become whining winners. When they start winning all the time, a lot of people actually start whining and complaining that they're held accountable and pushed so hard. Talk to me about that weird dynamic of pushing somebody who's paying you to make them better.
Yeah, well, when you bring a rebuke, we always use the scale from 1 to 10 with our clients, how much you want me to push you. And we do have clients that say, push me to 10, but then when you start pushing them at a 10, it can be really awkward, Clay, unless you bring some humor. You've got to have something to break that tension.
Can I rebuke what you're saying? Because I agree with what you're saying, but I just want to rebuke it.
Yeah.
The Bible, if you're, Clay Steers, are you familiar with the Bible?
I am familiar with a little bit of it, yes.
Steve, you ever heard of the Bible?
Yeah, I heard it on that podcast from the
Proverbs 13:24 is something that I believe, but I don't think the world can handle it.
Yes.
So I'm going to read it to you, Eric Chupp, and I'd like for you to break it down because Clay said you have to bring a little bit of humor. Lee Cockerell, the former executive vice president of Walt Disney World Resorts, who managed 40,000 employees, once told me, if you're going to be honest, you'd better be funny. But this is what Proverbs 13:24 says. It says, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes." So it means that if you don't spank your child literally, then you hate your kid. If you don't discipline your kid, then you hate your kid. If you don't hold people accountable and call people out, you hate them.
Clay, I interpret that differently.
Chup, can you?
Well, you're wrong.
Can you talk about that balance though? Because as a coach, it's not like you run around with some staff or some rod and you're like, you didn't do your action items this week. Whack. No, but I mean, how do you run that balance of holding people accountable without attacking them?
For me personally, like Clay said, you've got to take those opportunities where you can be funny and build rapport. And once you have done that, if you prove that you are a source of knowledge, you prove what your intentions are, which is to help them achieve their goals. What I found with a lot of my clients is they literally feel bad if they promised to do something and they didn't do it. Yep. Just kind of like a little kid who feels bad talking to his dad when he let him down. And so that's one way, through building rapport, showing your actual intentions and that you care, and then just holding them accountable and being there for them. And they want to get those things done and get better, so they're open to the coaching.
And as a coaching program, I want to make sure the listeners get this. Like, when you talk about a company like Phone Doctors, or you talk about a company like Full Package Media, Clay, there's one client you helped save over $8,000 a month this week.
Yes.
You're sitting down looking at their accounting.
Cheney Construction.
Yeah, you're sitting down helping them reduce expenses. I mean, so we want to help you win.
$8,000?
But we want to help you win. But the thing about winning is that if you're serious about growing a business, you can't take a day off when your business is open. And if you have a business that's open 5 days a week or 6 days a week or 7 days a week, you really can't take a day off. I mean, if we went to Starbucks tomorrow and the store said, sorry, we're closed, we wanted to take a day off, how many times would you go back there? I mean, I see a lot of small business owners that are in the wedding industry. They're closed on Mondays because they worked hard on Saturday or Sunday. It just Bill Belichick, the coach of the New England Patriots, he actually, when they won the NFL championship, they won the Super Bowl, he was passed the microphone at a rally. And I think it's kind of hilarious when you pass the microphone to a harsh disciplinarian at a pep rally where the mayor has given the entire city of Boston the day off to celebrate the Super Bowl victory. They have hundreds of thousands of people. Chup, I want to look this up during this audio excerpt. How many people showed up for the Super Bowl parade for the Patriots? And without any further ado, let's hear the audio of Bill Belichick at the awards celebration for the New England Patriots. Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for coming out today. This is tremendous.
Yes! Another victory. This is awesome. The fans are excited.
Let me tell you, these players, they worked harder than any team I've ever coached. They came to work every day, and there were no days off.
The fans are reluctant to cheer along.
Off.
Is this a communist chant?
Yeah. Off. No
got today
days off.
But I like days off. I deserve days off.
No days off.
Should I chant?
No days off.
I want you to take no days off, but I want to take
No
days off.
days off. Go.
What's crazy
And then
is
they
he
queued
says
up
that
the
for another
communist
20
national
minutes.
anthem.
Right. And he continues doing that for 25 more minutes.
No, but seriously, that was his speech at the Patriots Super Bowl celebration. And if you hear any interviews with Bill Belichick, he talks a lot about work ethic and not a lot about God-given talent. Chup, I mean, he is absolutely obsessed with being the best you could possibly be.
So just to fill that in, everybody, 1 million people, Boston police said 1 million people were in attendance for that.
You know, if you want to attend a workshop where slightly less than 1 million people will be there, I encourage you to book your tickets for our next Thrivetime show in-person workshop.
Tomorrow!
Well, tomorrow, last minute, if you want to book your tickets now, June 22nd and June 23rd, buy your tickets today or buy them for the next event by going to thrivetimeshow.com. The world's best business workshop, thrivetimeshow.com. Stay tuned.
Get ready to enter the Thrivetime Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top. Teaching you the systems to get what we got. Cutting Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio. And now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here.
You know, Thrive Nation, we're talking today about whining winners. We're talking about, we all know people that are in a family or a company where the expectations are set super high.
Yep.
The expectations. Steve Jobs talks about this, where he talks about excellence. And I'm not sure a lot of people have read as much Steve Jobs as I'd love if you did. I'd love for you to. But Steve Jobs, he talks about being a yardstick of quality. He says, be a yardstick of quality. Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. And I would just say this, having coached many companies all over the country, I don't think that excellence is expected in very many places at all. I mean, Clay Stairs, think about the places that you go to, that you like going to, you like to shop at. I mean, do you like Whole Foods? Do you ever go to Whole Foods?
I have been in Whole Foods 3 times.
Do you like Starbucks?
Yes, I have been to Starbucks.
The Apple Store?
I have been. Ooh, I really like the Apple Store.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie Cooper, the Mercedes folks.
I really like Jackie Cooper.
Steve, have you been to Trump Hotel?
Oh.
A couple of them.
Steve, have you ever been inside a Lamborghini? Maybe the one you own.
Oh, yeah. Lots of times.
Okay. And when you think about expectations, they control everything. And when you set high expectations for your company, for your organization, for your people, for yourself, what that does is it really begins to alienate you from people that have no expectations.
Right.
Yes.
Yep.
And by default, most people in our culture, in our society, they don't set high expectations.
Yep.
So let me give an example of a low expectation life. If you go tonight to a local casino, this is what's going to happen. You'll see a billboard.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
And on the billboard, you're going to see a sign that says, where everyone's a winner. Chubb, have you seen that kind of billboard?
Of course everyone's a winner.
Where everyone's a winner.
Ding, 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 ding.
Then you go to the casino, and this is what happens. There's a guy next to you with an oxygen tank going, and he's going, ding, 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 ding. And I don't know what it is, but it's hard for me to focus on wanting to be a winner when the lady who used to be an attractive swimsuit model but is now 55 and is a chain smoker is trying to serve me a free margarita, and the guy next to me is like, I what? I can't breathe. I need my oxygen. Come on.
What do you mean a player's card?
And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's like chain smoking while there's an oxygen tank right next to him, like flammable.
He's putting gas in his car too.
And I'm just saying, you see this, and have you been to the casinos, Chuck?
Yeah, it's amazing. People go there and try to win. And have you seen the size of these casinos? They are obviously winning. The casinos are winning.
It seems like you guys are being sarcastic about everyone being a winner.
You go there, and it's ding, 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 and then they say, now, ladies and gentlemen, in 15 minutes, a random 1980s band that you vaguely remember will be performing in 18 minutes. And you're going, oh my gosh, who is it? And they say, pour some sugar on me. Ow, in the name of love, pour some. And it's like performing as Def Leppard, the band that used to not be Def Leppard. The drummer, twice removed from Poison, will be performing tonight with the drummer from Aerosmith and the bassist from
and Nikki Sixx,
Motley Crue.
They have the same name, but it's all different players.
And you're going, am I really going to see a group cover "Loving an Elevator," loving it up when I'm going down? You know, and you're just going, really? Am I watching an Axl Rose impersonator, a Steven Tyler impersonator?
Skid Row.
Skid Row.
You know they have to throw away
skinny
those...
bop bop goes me away.
CeCe DeVille.
Oh, skinny.
Those seats that people sit at the slot machines.
Yeah.
They have to sanitize and throw them away because a lot of people don't get up.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. And you're going, really? Am I? So your expectations for entertainment, you're like, if I can get the plan B, that's fine.
Or
No.
C.
If I get plan C, pretty soon you're seeing a guy who's impersonating Jimmy Buffett. Living on sponge cake. But you're so hammered, it doesn't matter. And watching the sun bake. All of those tourists covered with oil. Hey, if you've got white hair out there, the buffet is free. Strumming my 6 string on the front porch string. We got the $1 long necks. And
Tip yourself.
Ding, 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 ring, ding, ding. And that's what a casino is. I went to see John Legend in concert, and I apologize for having standards. But my wife bought me tickets, and they called it the world's largest casino. Have you seen this piece of crap?
Been there.
In Thackerville?
Down by Texas?
Oh, yeah. It's
yeah.
The world's largest casino.
Well, it's the largest, all right. It looks like a trailer.
John
really
Legend gets out there, and he's singing songs. I love John Legend, and he's
a legend.
He's great,
Thank
though.
you.
And he's saying, there's a song called Stay With Me. And he says, we've been together for a while now. It's growing together each and every day now. I feel so good, and there is no doubt that I will stay with you. And the person behind me is like, woo, Johnny, yes, woo. And they're so hammered they can't even get it together. Woo, yeah, woo. And they're just smoking and ding, 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 ding. And I told my wife, I cannot stay here. So we went out to the buffet, as the rednecks call it.
Buffet. Buffett.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. You been to the buffet? So I go out there to the buffet, and at the buffet, there is
Ghosts.
crab legs. It's like $30 for unlimited crab legs.
Ooh.
It's imitation crab legs, bro.
But they're not even real crabs.
That's what
That's
I'm
the thing.
saying.
You can't even get real crabs.
No, I'm saying my wife and I, we go to our hotel room, and we both smelled so bad from all the smoke that we just had to leave.
Smoke and imitation crab
I could not even endure the trip. It ruined it because I have this thing called expectations.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around it. Call me crazy. I don't want to be around a bunch of gambling degenerate addicts who are addicted to gambling, who can't stop gambling, raging alcoholics who can't stop chain smoking with their freaking stomas that have been drilled into their larynx so they can actually breathe, and their oxygen tanks. Call me crazy, call me judgmental, but the idea of being next to a lady in your late 60s is going, good Lord, I think I might have won. Ding, 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 ding. What are you saying, Rose? Rose, what are you saying? Why, God, I just get my oxygen. I can't enjoy that. Ding, 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 ding. I don't know what that is. Chuck, do you enjoy the casino floor?
I hate the casino floor. In fact, I've only been to a casino 3 times, and I'm up like $60.
And you still
retired.
smell like smoke.
Yeah, you can smell me from here.
They ask me to leave.
And I've seen some good
They have
concerts. I've seen some good concerts recently at some of the casinos, but I have to go in where you don't go into the gaming floor.
Right.
Clay
but you
flies in
still
a helicopter and comes down a ladder.
I'm just telling you though, have you guys not been to a place? Hey, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's mentally all travel to Waffle House.
Oh.
At 4 a.m. outside of a casino.
I'd like to mention
Clay Stairs,
that
have
I
you
brought
been there?
the peanut butter. I have my peanut butter with me.
Have you been there, Clay Stairs?
I have been there, yes.
Have you been there? What happens at 4 a.m.? Who have you seen there? What kind of people do you see at 4 a.m.?
Just look around. We're there right now.
The freaks. The freaks come out at 4 a.m.
It's the guy who used to serve in the military.
Yes.
Who's getting up early because 4 a.m. is when he has breakfast.
Right.
And the people that are like, bruh, what's going on, bro? I'm just telling you, the society, though, would tell you it's okay to go to 4 a.m., to go to Waffle House at 4 a.m. And if you're totally hammered and you need some coffee to sober up, that's just part of the game.
That's the way it is, baby.
Don't judge.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
But what I'm saying to you is if you want to be successful, you got to judge yourself. Now, Christ, I'm a Christian, that's my worldview, offers you unconditional love, prosperity, the chance of heavenly rewards. You get to go to heaven if you just accept Christ. You can't get to heaven by works. But let me tell you this. If you want to go to hell on earth, don't do any work.
No.
Now, you get to go to heaven maybe for eternity, but if you want to suffer damnation on the planet Earth, what you want to do is you want to show up late all the time.
Every day.
And God can't judge you. I tell you what, if you're the kind of person that's contemplating getting a tattoo that says, only God can judge me, everyone's judging you.
Right.
No regrets.
Okay, Tupac.
So I'm going to give you final capstone thoughts, some tough love, Clay Stairs. Anybody out there struggling with being accountable and they're whining about being held accountable, what say you?
About whining and being accountable. Again, Clay, I've crossed over the discipline bridge, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
Get it done.
Yep.
And having a conversation just earlier today with a client that we have just started working with. I am developing that relationship with them, and the whole idea is, I wasn't able to get it done. I had this. It was my wife's birthday, so I didn't get it done. And so I'm talking to him, and I'm going, okay, here's the deal. I'm getting ready to come at a level 10 and talk with you. I don't care.
Final factoid: if it's your wife's birthday and you're unable to financially provide for your family, the bank will actually just give you $100,000 in the account. If it's your wife's birthday.
Yeah,
there
free.
you go.
Happy birthday money.
No! You're a sucker if you believe they're going to deposit anything for you on your wife's birthday just because you didn't get her done. Now, Thrive Nation, if you want to learn how to grow a successful business and how to be held accountable, how to become successful and become a person of success, go to thrivetimeshow.com. 3, 2, 1, boom!